welcome to another episode of the Salvation of Souls podcast, the SOS podcast. Guys, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'm here, your host Renee, and I'm accompanied by another amazing woman of God. Her name is Shantynae, and I will let her take the floor from here.
As she said, my name is Shantynae. I go by Nay. I'm only on TikTok at this moment as Natwater, so Natwater. I gave my life to Christ in 2022-ish, beginning of 2023, and ever since then, it's just been a very glorious ride. So that's just a little bit about me, but we're just about to jump into it then. So honestly, like just the transitioning of giving my life to Christ, like I didn't grow up in a church at all. I grew up with a family who didn't know God. They don't, worship God. If anything, more so subconsciously atheist. Like, we don't really have a belief. So, honestly, I feel like for me and just like with the way that like me being born and stuff like that, I feel like God definitely just had a plan for me, and everything in my life was definitely predetermined. Like, and I have affirmation and just reassurance in that from the things that I've lived through. So all my life, like I've always wondered what like who God was, but at the same time, like it was just always in the back of my mind. Like it was just like you hear swear to God or you hear like on God, like you hear all these things about God that if anything, it's more like blasphemous things. But you're just like, who is this person that everybody just like to say I swear to God just means I definitely do like this thing or something. It's just like that means that this God that people talk about has just such a bigger meaning. It's something, but I just never knew what it was. And I seen people with like wearing hijabs, so I was like, okay, that must be something with like God too. Like, I just never really knew. I think the first time that like I really heard God was in the midst of me seeking him, but I didn't know what God I was seeking. So during that time I'm like praying to like Allah, I'm praying to God himself, I'm praying to Buddha, I'm praying to everything because I'm like, I don't know who God is. So I'm just going to pray to all of them and open up this Bible that I found in this house that we were just moving into. And I kept it. And I was just like, I'll open up this Bible and read a couple words that I don't understand and then close it. And that's me talking to God. But when I went into college or whatever, I only had one friend that we went to high school together. And he was telling me that I should start watching like sermons or whatever. He was like, that would help if you want to like start your, walk with Christ and stuff like that. And the closer I got to, the more I started watching sermons and things, the more it was leading me to actually like Christ, like Jesus Christ. And the more my eyes were open up to like, okay, God is like God is a bigger deal. And I started to be able to feel that, and I was like, okay, now there's Jesus. Like, who is Jesus? So the first sermon I ever watched was Relationship Goals by Michael Todd. And in watching that, like I would lock in like on my computer, taking notes, like all the things. Like I wanted to know God so bad. Really because at that time I was in such a bad like situationship, like emotionally draining, like manipulative, like all the things you could think of. And I was just so young and just like lost and just battling like childhood trauma. So during that time, I kid you not, like God like literally spoke to me saying like he had told me to go and do something. Like he told me to go to the beauty supply store. But like when I heard his voice, I was like I had to already go there, but I told myself I was gonna do it later. And then he was like, no, go right now. And those words were so clear. It was like scary almost because I was like what? Like I don't want to go right now. Like I'm just like, okay, maybe I should just go right now because all of a sudden I'm not tired anymore and I have the energy to go right now. But since that moment, like he was obviously showing me something, me literally just driving, like that little bit of obedience, opened my eyes up to so much more just even on my way there and then getting to the destination. And ever since then, I was able to actually realize that he spoke to me early on in my ages, like even when I was young, I didn't recognize his voice. I didn't know who he was to identify it with him. So God's actually spoke to me in many ways. His spirit's always actually been with me. Um, I just never knew he was there. But that's the first time I can recall actually knowing and recognizing his voice. Um, but yeah, from then on out, I didn't know what giving your life to Christ was. I just stayed the path of like, okay, getting close to this thing feels good. And he clearly can talk to me, and he's showing me things like this is beautiful. But again, as a person who's never grew up in the church, wasn't around people who grew up in the church, I didn't have church doctrine. I didn't have like those set in stone things that you grow up with as a person who grows up in the church. So me, I'm just like, this is at my own pace. Like I'm just learning. I have no prior knowledge. So it was kind of all over the place, but God was with me, and he was very, very merciful at the fact, like, in my ignorance. So of course there was a lot of backsliding. I was still like ignoring him, I was probably still like, rebuking him in other ways, stop listening to him and all this stuff, doing what I wanted. But he stuck with me because he knew I was just ignorant and I knew nothing. And he was just very graceful towards me. And honestly, that's just the reason I'm here today, is because he was still like faithful. Like, and he strengthened my faith and gave me so much more knowledge and wisdom over the years, since just early in 2023. And it being early 2025, that's like not a lot of time, but when you're walking with Christ, I kid you not, like that month you walking with Christ feels like an entire year of growth that he gives you. So,
I feel you. You know what? Just hearing your testimony and just knowing that, like, even though it doesn't matter how long you've been walking with Christ, I feel like just even acknowledging and just saying, like, you know what, God, I know you're there. And just even accepting him and having him in your heart. You don't need to have like 10 years of experience of walking with God to say you're better than someone that's been walking with God for 1 year. The
yeah,
thing is, God moves in our lives so differently. And the thing is, like, I've known God all my life. But the thing is, when did I really start taking God seriously? Back in 2024. Now I'm here. So it's not like saying you're better than me or I'm better than you. Everybody's walk with Christ is so, so very different. And it's so crazy because just God telling you to go to the beauty supply store, I'd be like, other people would think you're crazy. They go say, how's God gonna tell you to go to the beauty supply store? Like, what's at the beauty supply store that he wanted you to see at that moment? And that's for
exactly.
you and yourself alone. But I know I've heard him like say numbers to me, and I'm like, okay. And he told me like 30 days, and I was like, what is gonna happen in 30 days? Now the thing is that I have to be like, okay, God, I'm gonna praise you because I don't know what's gonna happen in 30 days, but I'm praying it's a blessing because there's no way you're gonna tell me numbers and like, God speaks in different ways, and it's so weird, and it's not even weird, it's unbelievable in a sense, I would say. So just like knowing your testimony and knowing your side of the story and like backsliding, I feel like, you know what, like I never take the validation of like, oh, I'm young. So you know what? I can backslide if I want to. I got the whole rest of my life to get myself right with God. No, you don't. Oh, we really don't know when Jesus is coming back. That's the worst part about it. Because if it was pre-calculated, don't you think all of us would be waiting to the last minute to be like, okay, now Jesus is coming back in like about 2 months. Let me start praising God more. Like,
Yeah,
no.
exactly.
Like God's just like, you know what, Jesus is coming back. But it's the scary part is that we don't know when Jesus is coming back. So it's not like, oh, we can backslide when we walk to it. Just be like, okay, don't worry. When I see the end is near, then I'll start praising God. The end is already here, but we just don't know when he's coming back. So I totally understand with like the whole backsliding thing a bit. Because for me, like there's times I just didn't want to listen to God, and I've heard his voice before, and I remember like I heard it like when I was like 16, when I was like 14, and the thing is like I didn't want to know it was God. I didn't want to believe it was God because I was like, why would you speak to me? I'm like a little kid. I'm young, I'm immature, I'm a teenager. Why would God want to use me? But he uses us in no matter what stage of our lives.
Yeah.
And that's the most beautiful part about it because there's requirements when it comes to God. There's no stereotypes. Like you have to be that, you have to have your hair this long, you got to be this color, you have to be this height, this weight. This There's no
Yeah.
requirements, and it's the best part about God that it makes everything beautiful. And yeah, that's really it. So I really love your testimony and just giving that little limelight to all of us. And just seeing like how God's built you up for today, how he's built you and he's made you this person you are today. So I wanted to know if you could speak on that a bit. How did you come from where you came from to now? To being this influencer on TikTok out of nowhere, and like how was that? Like how did your family members see it? How did everybody else around you see it? Was like, yeah, just kind of in that sense.
Yeah, so honestly, just me being me, all my life I've been a person that's gonna pick up my phone and record something, take a picture of something. Like before vlogging was a thing, I was already doing it. Um, I have videos from literally like 2009 of me with like this, I don't even know what kind of phone it was, but it slid sideways and there was a keyboard, but there was a little tiny camera and the quality's terrible, but like me and my friend are outside on like a ripstick or something. Like, so I've always been a person to pick up my phone and just like literally just be talking to the phone. Like it was, I've always been my person that I could talk to. So the closer, like I've always also wanted to, like the more content creating got out there and stuff like that, like I've done TikToks since, musically and stuff like that. Um, when I was in high school, I was doing more like dancing TikToks or like comedic stuff like that. I don't even know if comedic is a word, but I was doing more so stuff like that, and then my account was getting a little bit of exposure, and then I was like, okay, we're gonna shut it down because I was just like, I don't know, I was just over it, and I wanted a new start and all the things, and I didn't also want certain people to have my account, so I like closed out that account, made it private and all the stuff, and then so the when I actually gave my life to Christ and things, there was just I think so what had happened was I had a friend and his name was Brandon. Love him to this day. And so our relationship is what something in the midst of our relationship is what sparked my fire for God at that time. Around the same time that I started my TikTok for my Christian TikTok. So I don't know, me and him were just like we're always just in our word, and he was just so wise, and he was just such a great light in my spiritual journey. And I remember I was talking on the phone with another friend of mine, and he was telling me, he was just like, there's a question that you just need to ask God. And you're just like scared, but like he's just waiting for you to ask. And at that time, the question that I needed to ask God was just like, show me that you're enough. Because nothing that God was doing in my life at that point was enough. And I was scared to ask that kind of question because you don't know how God's going to show you that he's enough. Like, I'm gonna get into some accident, and then I'm gonna go to heaven, and he's gonna show me that he's enough, and then I'm gonna come back, and I'm not gonna have legs. He's gonna show me that he's enough. So that night, I remember that day, like, I was walking outside of the school, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pray and ask God, like, show me that you're enough. And, I don't know how long after, but I know it was very soon after, and I was getting my hair done, and, I also think at this time, I was either fasting or I was just trying out different music, only music that glorified God. So I had Cleo Soul in my ears while she's doing my hair. And if you can imagine, like my eyes are closed, and if you can imagine like 5,000 pictures, but in a slideshow of 10 seconds. Like, God showed me something that I can't even fathom what it was, but it was just like He like blessed me with His Holy Spirit. And in that moment, like, I'm literally crying. It was the weirdest thing. I'm literally like starting to cry while she's doing my hair. And I was just like, this is what is going on. And then at that moment, I was just on fire for God. And I was literally driving home like, what is this feeling that I have? Like, this is just like really weird, like all the things. So it was like probably a week or two. Like I literally, during that week, I had went to practice. After practice, I was like super like emotional, and I was just like, I just love God. Like, I don't know. Like, I was just on fire for God. Like, literally, like it was just some spark. So after that, I think I had this like gut-wrenching feeling, like a knot in your throat, that is just like, you need to speak. Like, you have things that need to be said. And I was like, I just don't know how to say it. Like, I'm scared, like, almost. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know enough. I'm not qualified. Like, you know, I just didn't know what to say, but I know God was like leading me to like get back into, speaking. You need to speak to people. There's like things that like I went through that like you need to speak on that other people can relate to, and show what God has brought you through. But at that time I was such like a baby, and I was like, okay, God, I do not know how to do this, like, at all. But after I just like posted that first video, and it's not like it like blew up or anything, it was just like, okay, it was like almost a confirmation that I felt, and I was just like, okay, this is what I should be doing, but God, I need you to walk me through how to do this. And the more I continued to fall into God, was the more that I was able to produce good fruit. And one of those fruits was my content creating and what I do on my TikTok. And even like to this day, like the more that I lean into God, like just how when Jesus, the more people that he gathered, when he gathered them, the more he actually had to go into a desolate place to be with his father. Like, he still didn't let the crowds consume him. He didn't let, the fame consume him and all the things. He still had to go back to square one and be like, okay, God, I still want to keep you at the center of everything that I do. Let me produce good fruits to be able to carry out your word in the most effective way, you know, that you want me to. So, and I feel like at this very moment I'm fasting from TikTok, because sometimes I just got to get back to, route one, and that's the Lord, and filling my mind with his knowledge and wisdom and being able to produce those fruits, so I'm giving out the right message the way that he wants me to. So, and sometimes with having a TikTok, that can be a little hard, and um I wouldn't say discouraging, but discouraging, because it's just like sometimes it's just like I don't want to speak, but God is like, you have to speak. The more like I want I want to be a content creator for like almost other things, but at the same time God is like, okay, but I need you to speak still. Like, not that you can't, because like I said, I've always been a person to pick up a phone. Picking up a phone and being in front of a camera is nothing. But it's just like when it comes to speaking on his word, it's almost something that I'm scared to do, but that's why I know that it's something that I have to do and that the Lord has set on my heart. Because 9 times out of 10, God's not gonna, if God's telling you to do something, it's 9 times out of 10 not something that you want to do. It's something that he's telling you to do for you to be obedient to him. So that's just kind of where I am now, just trying to, honestly, just being faithful, um, seeking the Lord seeking the Lord in his kingdom, and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Like, I literally live by that verse, Matthew 6:33, because it's just true. Like, keeping him at the forefront of everything that you do, and you will produce every single thing that is in his will, and that is everything that is for your own good. So, yeah.
Well, it's very interesting to know from your side of the story because, for example, like a lot of people that do content creation for Jesus, for God, for Holy Spirit, and it's just the way that it's so spirit led. Is the fact is that I've heard from so many people, it's like, I really don't. Sometimes I'm like, God, do I really gotta pull up a camera? Can't you just give me the revelation and I don't gotta share it? You know? But then some people are like, no, when God tells you to do something, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
And like, for example, for me, it's like certain things that I do, I'm like, okay, God. I think one day, I don't remember what I was doing, but I had something and I had just bought it and I was like, give it to that person. And I was like, are you crazy? I was like, I'm not giving I was like, I'm not gonna give it away. I just bought this with
Right.
my own money. And he was like, give it to them. And I was like, dang. I was like, are you so, I'm telling you, I was like, dang, like, seriously, God, like, you really want me to give this away? And he's like, yep. And then I gave it to that person and they were so happy. And I was like, well, next paycheck then. I was like, next paycheck then. I was like, you know what, fine. But it's so funny because he makes us help the unfortunate, those that don't know the unknowing. He lets us hope that the people that don't know, the people that don't have, the people, it's all for his people. And it's the fact is that he uses everyday people to do certain things. For example, let's say like you're buying groceries and he has someone pay for your groceries. God already knows maybe you don't got the funds this week. So he's like, okay, let me have someone pay for their groceries. And you're like, okay. But so it's always God that does that because that person didn't know what you were going through. That person doesn't know what you
Yeah.
do or how you live your life. But it's just always Holy Spirit just being in the midst and just saying, okay, you know what, God, they got to be blessed. So, just so they could say, oh, thank you, Jesus. So it's like another thing that to show that he is enough, like you said. So yeah.
No,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's from that point. Oh
Yeah.
no, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, everything you're saying is 100% right. I think oftentimes it does take the time, but a lot of people think that the time is in our hands when really there's like Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us there's a time and place for everything. And that's from God's jurisdiction, not ours. So, people get so caught up in like, okay, I need to be doing this or I need to be doing this, especially with like when it comes to the fact that we live in, I forget who I heard quote this, but they said we live in a world of edutainment, which is like our entertainment is our education. We are so educated by our entertainment. Um, and like I said, I forget who quoted that, or I forget, yeah, who said that. But that is so true. And so when it comes to content creating, that I think many people take giving your life to Christ or walking with Christ has to look a certain way or has to be a certain way, or oh, I have to ask God to use me today for me to be doing something right in his eyes and stuff like that. Like we want to take so much control from how everybody else's walk looks, but God is literally, he's sovereign. He's everywhere. So therefore our time is not depicted on us in the time that we have things. Like God has us in a season doing certain things, feeling certain things, doing certain things a certain way according to his will and what's right for us at that moment. And I almost like despise in certain times where people will like tell you like if you're not doing this in your walk then you're wrong. And I'm just like there was times where I was not doing those things in my walk because I didn't know how to do those things in my walk. It just wasn't my time to do those things in my walk. But now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, well, I went through a season where God pruned me to be able to do those things and to reap those kind of fruits and all these things. And I think we just need to focus on, like I said, Matthew 6:33, keeping God at the forefront of everything, and he will just lead the way. Like everything will be added unto us in the best time that it could be, and that's God's time.
That's literally the best timing though. It's honestly it's like kind of meeting God where he's at is a task I know all of us try to accomplish because sometimes we can all miss God. And the thing is, it's the worst part about it is that when you miss him, and then you just like, it's like such a forehead slap moment because you're what? Like it's so aggravating because you're just like, no, God, like I missed you. I wasn't supposed to miss you. Like we were supposed to be aligned. We were gonna go. We're supposed to be like equally yoked. We're supposed to be there. But then life happens to all of us. So sometimes we tend to back up a bit. So it's just God's timing is so important. And the thing is, it's just you being spiritually mature in a sense to understand God's timing, to understand the thing is, there obviously we don't have a calendar or a watch or anything, but just to understand every time that God will show up, every time that God will reveal Himself, every time that God seems to bless us in a certain way, or just always knowing when God does things. And most of the time, sometimes it's like a repetition, or sometimes it can come up very unexpected. Because the thing is, God's not obviously he's not like consistent in the way he does things. Sometimes he does it this way, or sometimes he does it another way. Sometimes he won't do it at all. So it's kind of it's like, it's following God is just it's an amazing journey in itself. And I think all of us are just, we're all excited to say, you know what, God, like you and me, we're tight, we're best friends. Like you can never run away from me, I'll never run away from you. And just having that confirmation with him and just being him being your father, but also your best friend, your
Mm-hmm.
sister, your brother, everything. He's everything. And it's the best part about it. So yes, I do want to ask you, are there any key verses or verses that you have that you could share for us? Your favorite ones in particular?
Yes, like okay, so like I said, the one I'll repeat it though because I do love it so very much. I live by it. Seek first his kingdom and righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. Um, I love that one just because I kid you not, in any situation, in every scenario, it works for everything. Like when times get rough, when times are good, when you're confused, just seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And once you be able to do that, you'll be able to just produce everything that is right for you in God's will. Because we're so, like, we are such changing creatures. Like, we have all these emotions and all these feelings that are just so, we are the ones that are very inconsistent. In God, his word is so unchanging. And he is so unchanging and so consistent in everything that he does. So once we're able to take what we think we know be away from that for a second and just being like, okay, God, what is what right now? Because he's so unchanging and he is just so literally, he's always the same today, tomorrow, and yesterday. We can always have something to go back to, and it's a firm foundation. And I think Matthew 6:33 kind of sums all that up. I also love that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. If I'm not mistaken, that's Hebrews 11. Um, I love that. People, I love that really because many people will bring up, usually it's unbelievers that will bring up like, how can I have faith of something that I can't see? It's like, how would you have faith in something you can see? Like that's not faith. You just it's a knowing. We know it's there. You know what I'm saying? We use faith every single day. So I think that's just a beautiful it's a beautiful verse, and it's just a great reminder that literally we're walking by faith and not by sight. And that verse just like is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. I think it's just worded perfectly. And there's actually so much more that I haven't been able to unbuckle with that verse, but I'm still working on it, and it's still just like leading me to something greater. And then I'll probably just say like one more, but this one isn't James, but it is also in James. It says, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. That's in Romans, but there's also the James 1 and 2. But the the fact that we suffer in this walk all the time, all the time, all the time. Like going through seasons of suffering, it sucks so bad. And it's so easier said than done, but the sufferings matter, and they matter so much because it's just like shows that not only God is working on us, but when we come on the other side of this suffering, like how much more greater and like better we're going to be, and how closer we just like become when we're suffering in the midst of it. And that is it's a beautiful thing to suffer in this walk. At the same time, it sucks so bad. Like it sucks so bad. I literally don't even have words for suffering, but like it says, like, it's not worth comparing with the glory, that's coming. And God surprises me every single day with his glory and the things that he just makes shape that we're just like, he did it again. Like, but yeah, those are just a few.
I love those. Those are very beautiful. And just knowing that, like how you said, that verse to seek his righteousness. And I feel like it's so amazing just to see especially the way it's phrased. A lot of people are like, what's righteousness? How do you seek righteousness? Oh my gosh. Like, isn't exalting God enough? And it's like, no, not only exalting God is enough, but you have to seek what you're exalting. And you have to seek that his righteousness is just beyond anyone's means. So I love those verses very much. And I did want to say, is there anything else you did want to add before we do call it? Anything you wanted to add before we call it a wrap?
I don't think so exactly. If anything, I would probably just say, if you're a person that's just watching this and just starting your walk, or you're just curious about who God is, honestly, just pray and tell him everything that you could tell a person that you're talking to, that a person that you're talking to and telling them how you want to be closer to God, tell all that to God. So exactly everything that you would be telling to that person, talk to God and say the same thing. Because once you give God that level of transparency and you give him room to work within your heart, then now is the time where he can actually work and come into you and do the things that you want him to do. But everything is by his timing, and is by his grace. So just trust in him, have faith in him, and I love you. That's it.
Thank you so much for coming here today. I want to say thank you for just letting God being a blessing and being the forefront in your life, and letting him use a vessel. Because honestly, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't all be here today. And I did want to say thank you for everyone who's tuning in today, whether it's morning, noon, or night. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I just want to say, may God bless everyone. May He bless everyone and everything in your life. And yeah, bye guys.
Bye.